guys, welcome to an episode of Telestream Wirecast Live. I am not Andrew Haley. Andrew Haley is out on assignment, but my name is Stephen Haywood. I'm the host of the Tech Buzz, and you guys can check out everything that I do over there. And Andrew was kind enough, he had to be out on assignment and said, hey, would you guys like to do episode number 13 of Wirecast Live and talk about broadcasting? And I said, absolutely. And I said I wanted to bring along a good buddy of mine who's been in the broadcasting industry for over 19 years. He was a producer at ESPN. Those of you that know Sports Center, I want to introduce to you Mr. Marty McPadden from BTSLive.com and PodJam.tv. Welcome, sir.
Hey, how are you, Stephen? Great to be here.
It's great to be here with you as well to talk about broadcasting. Is become a passion for you and I. We've kind of over the years. And why don't you tell a little bit to the audience that may not know you, a little bit about what you do and how you kind of got into this space?
Oh, man. Well, after a 19-year stay at the worldwide leader in sports in Bristol, Connecticut, decided to branch out on my own. So me and my wife, we have a multimedia production business. A lot of our business revolves around video production and, of course, live streaming, which is very popular today. So, in fact, I'll be doing a bunch of on-location jobs coming up this month, all during August for a client. So it's an apropos subject today with everyone wanting to do live streaming, and now we're on Facebook Live, and I know we're going to be talking to Wirecast, and it's a great tool for this purpose. So, let's get right into it.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to let everybody know is that with this, what we're going to basically be talking about today, I want to show how to optimize your social outreach with live video. This is something that a lot of people have questioned and wanted to know, like, how do I get a bigger audience? Especially, like you said, Marty, with Facebook Live. Not everybody understands what you need to do to get out there, and I hope that we have a few tips, pointers, bullet points, if you will, on why that is, and I think we should just dive right into it. What do you think?
Absolutely, Stephen. We got a jam-packed show today.
So the first thing is, why multiple destinations? We're here on Facebook Live, but the question often comes up a lot, Marty, is why do you want to go to multiple destinations? And I know you and I, we do multiple destinations, and Wirecast gives you that ability to go out to multiple destinations, whether it be Ustream, YouTube, Facebook. You can go out to multiple destinations, and one of the cool parts is you get to reach an audience that has been dedicated to a certain platform. And Marty, as you know, you're doing the same thing. You have to reach your audience where they're at.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And I know a lot of people, when they first get into live streaming and live broadcasting, they're just concerned about getting on one platform well. And a lot of times it's choosing platforms that work with your technical setup and your particular situation. And sometimes you leave a lot on the table as far as viewers go. So what Wirecast 7 allows you to do, like Stephen was saying, is the whole concept of streaming to multiple platforms at the same time. And that's what we do. I know we stream to multiple platforms anytime we go live. And that way you're hitting various audiences. And I'll give you an example since we're on Facebook. Both Stephen and I broadcast on paid CDNs. We broadcast on various CDNs that are out there. But when Facebook just opened up their API, allows us to stream direct to Facebook. And I noticed when I first did it, the very first time, there was a bunch of people that didn't even know I was doing shows. And I had been doing shows for a while. And they said, I didn't know you did a show. And I'm sure, Stephen, that you probably ran into the same thing, where people on Facebook may not even be aware that you're broadcasting. So the idea here, like you said, is the valuable piece of it is reaching audiences where they are and reaching new audiences. And I'll tell you, for me, and especially for being in the business, Facebook is something everyone understands. And it was a real watershed event when they decided to open up their API, because then it was easy to explain to clients, oh, you can go to your Facebook page. I can do what? I can do, and it was off to the races. So and funny, because it's only been out for a little while, but I've seen a huge increase in business because people now recognize how important that is.
And the ability with anybody that's familiar with spiderweb marketing, I mean, you get your followers, you get your loyal followers that watch what you do. and they like the companies that you're working with, they will take it and share it, and then that whole new group of audience will take it and then share it, and the list goes on and on. So before you know it, like you said, Marty, you're going to find that people are like, man, I didn't know you guys did this. I mean, I see that you post videos all the time about things that you do, but I never really realized that you did this type of live broadcasting. And I think what it's going to do, not only for businesses, but people getting out there creating content, those using sophisticated tools like Wirecast, it's going to cause them to have a tremendous leap in viewership compared to what it was almost 10 years ago when I started, and even longer when you started to go. I mean, the tools are there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, coming from ESPN, you're dealing with multi-million-dollar control rooms, these used installations, state-of-the-art, everything used studios. And that was the norm for a long time. But as you know, Stephen, I mean, past couple of years, technology has advanced, prices have come down. I mean, we're both professional broadcasters. We're not ESPN level, and we certainly don't have the deep pockets that a network level broadcaster has. But we have been able to set up our studios and present a pretty good quality broadcast. I mean, you're seeing it here on Facebook, and we're not rich by any stretch. I mean, you're talking from millions to a few, like at least our case, to a few $1,000s or thousands of dollars versus millions. But then you take it down from there. If you're just starting out, Wirecast, as we'll get into, is the perfect tool not only to get started with, but also to grow with. And I know we're getting into that, but also I do want to mention, since we're mentioning streaming, it's got one of the best streaming engines out there. Not only is it a great video tool, but the streaming engine on Wirecast is second to none.
And we've used many, and we've tried them all,
Yep.
and you can't get away from Wirecast. So that was a little inside tip for you guys there. One of the things that we also want to bring up is professional tools. Why are they so important? Tools like Wirecast. Wirecast is a professional video switching solution in software form, and as Marty alluded to, gives you the ability to grow. Maybe you don't have the budget, and you've got to choose. I mean, we have a lot of followers that watch one of the shows that we do broadcast now, and people are going out and buying Wirecast and using webcams, Marty, to do their production, and until they get some more funds, maybe some sponsorships. And what it's doing is it's causing their reach to grow because they're getting out there and they're doing shows. So they're using these built-in webcams, Logitech, Microsoft webcams, plugging it into their system and getting going. Maybe they don't have the money right away for a $5,000 to $7,000 Canon camera or one of those 4K cameras from Blackmagic. The important thing, though, is they're getting out there and they're starting to build a reputation online. And so what's happening is Wirecast is able to grow with them to when they want to get like a camera like you and I have and using a capture card. They're not having to relearn software or hardware all over again. They just plug in their camera to a supported capture card in Wirecast, and they're picking up the quality for their audience.
Yeah, and you mentioned professional tools, and I think what's great about Wirecast 7 is, as we talked about, you can get started with things you have. So a lot of people have a webcam already, maybe have a basic microphone, a USB microphone that plugs and plays into your computer, and then that's all you have for now. So you get Wirecast, and you can already get started learning the basics of layering, learning the basics of creating shots, streaming out your content. And then, like you said, Stephen, as they grow, as they get other equipment, just a matter of adding another capture card, another source, and you just build from there. But the basics remain the same. That's what's great. And then it allows you to grow as your capabilities grow. So you're not going to outgrow it, which is great. And, again, you're not dealing with a separate switcher per se. You are already using the computer that you have, and the software kind of grows with you, which is great.
And that's something you have to do. You have to get out there and start. And so one of the ways that you can optimize your presence with live video is getting out there and doing it. And that's something that Wirecast allows you to do. I do want to encourage those that are watching right now, and you're watching live. This is a live transmission. We are live right now. Please feel free to put your questions, any comments right below the video. We have some folks that are answering questions if they can. If not, they're going to pass it along to us, and we're going to answer the questions at the end of the show here. And we'll save about 15 minutes for questions. Marty and I will be more than happy to answer any questions as they pertain to broadcasting, Wirecast, anything that we can that that doesn't get into too complicated verbal answers where you may need to write out some schematics and workflows. But one of the other things, Marty, that we were kind of saying is you need to focus. When we talk on Broadcast Now, we tell folks you need to focus, you need to learn and understand your content and your tools. Don't just get up there and just start talking about something just because you think it's going to be popular. Get out there and talk about something that you're passionate about. Know the whys, right? We use that a lot. Know the whys behind what you're doing, because it's going to make your broadcast that much smoother, because there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to online broadcasting.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people just see, like, I in my shows I talk, and we talked about this on Broadcast Now, I call it the 90-10 rule, where 90% of all the work that you do for a show happens before the show and people never see it. So the more preparation you put into that 90%, including technical content, presentation, how you look on screen, all that stuff. And then the 10% is actually what you're seeing here. So before this show, Stephen and I met. We prepared an outline. We talked about what we're going to be talking about, what we're going to cover. We timed it out, all that stuff. And the more you do that, just the smoother you're going to be. The other thing I think, Stephen, that you said that is right on is, if you're going to be producing content, you want to pick something that you really love, because chances are, if you want to do it and be successful, you have to do it for a long period of time, consistently. And if you're just picking something that's hot at the moment, that you're really not interested in fact, I made that mistake in my first blog years ago when I first started blogging. You're not going to keep up with it, and plus you're not really going to know what you're talking about. So when we were preparing this show, we're both broadcasters, we're both very experienced with this stuff. And so we were excited to get going with this, because this is right in our wheelhouse. This is something we know about. We can talk about it. We just prepared an outline and we can just go, So that's very, very important. And you're much more likely to stick with your efforts, your content producing efforts as well.
And that's why it's important to know what you're talking about, because if you want to expand your social reach with online video, you have to know what you're talking about. If we came on here and we looked like we were broadcasting, and I use this example a lot. If you look like you're broadcasting from your bathroom and you're using a camera, Marty, that looks like it's from the 1920s, and the audio's you just can't understand the audio, you're going to lose people. I mean, the audio is the most important thing. If you're not audible, people aren't, people forgive video. Yep. But the audio is the most important, and people often ask, like, why do you guys use these big honking microphones in front of you instead of a lav mic? And we really we don't mind having the microphone there, but we really like the sound quality that the microphones bring off. And so that's kind of why we do it that way. And it's just, people have grown accustomed to this. And the main thing is, no matter what microphone you choose, whatever gear that you're using, whatever tools that you're using, know how to use them. Know how to bring your content to life, so to speak. And Wirecast can surely do it, but you also have to know how to utilize Wirecast to do those things. And you want to get your reach out more, Marty, you got to know your stuff, right?
You got to know your tools. And I was chuckling a little bit when you mentioned the lavalier mic. I know we were talking about it the other day, earlier this week. And that's what you normally see on TV, right? So I come from ESPN, any network level show, any local news, they're all using the clip-on. The lavalier mic is basically a clip-on mic that goes on your shirt here. And the reason is it's less noticeable on TV. It's and that's why they use it. But I will caution people. I mean, those are in optimized studios where they got those mics dialed in perfectly as far as the sound frequency and adjustments and equalization. And there tend to be very expensive mics where they're high quality. So if I was to throw on a lavalier mic here, at least one I could afford, I'm in a non-optimized room, and it's going to pick up all kinds of echo and everything. So like Steven said, we opt for the large diaphragm dynamic mics. It's going to make you sound better. Plus, lots of times, I know your show, Steven, you're repurposing your content in an audio format, so it gives you a little better thing. But it's sort of like radio and TV. So this style is actually pretty good and works pretty well. So,
Yeah, and I want to bring up to guys that are in the chat. We will get to some of those questions. We're having some folks feed us some questions, so we will get to those. So don't fret. Stick around. We'll get to those. One of the final points here that I want to bring up, Marty, that I think is something that we get talked about we get talked about a lot with this, because why partner with like-minded people? You want to get your social your experience broadened. You want to get out there more. You want to get into a bigger audience. You want to find more and more people that are going to watch you through live video. Why not consider partnering with like-minded people? And what I mean by that is, take for instance, Marty and I. We're both broadcasters. We both do shows on broadcasting. In fact, Marty is a co-host on one of my broadcasts. I've been a guest on Marty's show, and we both have the mentality that we're trying to help people in broadcasting. We want to show people tools. We want to give them the ability to get out there and do this type of stuff. So what we found is, by collaborating together, we've actually made our reach that much bigger, because we've attracted people that are into broadcasting and live streaming, and cross-promoting each other. We've actually found that it's actually made our live broadcast, because we found similar audience members, and we found similar fans, I guess you could say, that have come and support us and get behind us, that people get this mentality that, oh, well, they're competing against one another. No, it's not like that. And I think that if you get out of that mentality, you will grow your social presence with live video. If you get out of that mentality that I'm competing against Marty, or Marty's competing against me, right? I mean, you're going to go farther.
Yeah, it's we is greater than me, to put it succinctly. And we've talked about this, Stephen, multiple times, and it kind of goes against the grain of maybe human nature, where, oh man, especially if you're content creation, and you figure, okay, there's only so many eyeballs, so people have only so much time to watch content. But I'll use myself as an example. I'm into tech. I love Apple products, so I'll listen to podcasts. And so let's take Apple. I'm an Apple fan. I don't just pick out one podcast or one show to watch or listen to. I listen to a whole series of shows. And the reason is, for exactly what you mentioned, Stephen, I'm getting, it's still very similar topics. They're going to talk about very similar things, especially when they're right around a product release. But you're getting different takes, different spins, different personalities. And the one thing as a content creator that you have that nobody else has is yourself, your own personality, your own take, your own presence. And that's why we always say also is never try to put on an act, unless you're, of course, acting in a movie. But chances are, you're doing a regular show. Always be yourself, because you're always going to attract the audience that's right for you. If you're truly yourself. And also, you're just going to come across a lot more naturally, But in listening to the content, you'll find that, like between you and me, we tend to, a lot of our audience crosses over, but a lot of people watch both shows or watch all our shows, and because you're getting different takes. And the other thing is, rarely are you going to be real successful all by yourself in anything, not just video production. And normally you're going to have to team up with people and kind of create a team of people, and you all can be successful together. And it takes a lot of trust and really being on the same page, but you can do it, and Steve and I are very fortunate. We kind of hit it off right away, and it's been great. I mean, since we've gotten together here and kind of collaborated, just like you mentioned, it's helped kind of, all boats rise, the rising tide, right, raises all boats. I'm probably getting that saying wrong, but what the intent is. But yeah, I mean, it kind of goes against human nature, but if you can get past the competition thing, there's a lot of benefit, and everybody can win if you're truly working together.
And so that's one of the things that we try to focus on, and we try to let people know that this is what you want to do. So one of the things that we wanted to bring up before we get into questions is one of the ways that we use Wirecast and utilize it. And I know, Marty, we both utilize it in this fashion. We run, because we talk about getting out there to multiple destinations, but we run our previous shows. A lot of people will upload them to YouTube, or they'll upload them here on Facebook because they're recorded. But sometimes you get the issue where some things are out of sync, sometimes depending if the server's overloaded. But we try to record a local copy where we know it's perfectly in sync and everything's working good and can be used and repurposed. But sometimes the stars don't align and things don't work out right. So what we
do, never happens.
It never happens. So one thing we try to do is, with Wirecast, we make a playlist, and we'll put all this week's shows in, let's say. or in my case, because broadcast now is not really a time sensitive type of a show, you can any of the tips that are given in there can be used at any given time. What we like to do is put them in a rotation. We'll put a little pre-recorded bug inside of Wirecast. You can add little title templates or things that maybe you've made in Photoshop. You can bring it in the Wirecast, and we'll run that in just a constant loop and stream that out to all the CDNs that we stream to. And for those that maybe new, you don't know what CDN stands for, and that's a content delivery network or distribution network, like a Ustream, YouTube, Facebook. And what we try to do is we try to generate the content, because sometimes people aren't able to see it, catch it live, or maybe they stumble upon our website, Marty, and they want to see what this video is about, and they don't want to take the time to click on an episode. It just kind of keeps things playing. And the fact that you and I were on set-top boxes like Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV, people can go on those, download the app, and actually watch the show as it's happening live, or if we're running reruns. So for us, that aspect of Wirecast is essential in our toolbox.
I can tell you this, Stephen, and that's exactly that's one of the main uses I have for Wirecast 7 that I have is the playlist feature, and because it has excellent streaming engine, it works great. And I run it. In fact, it's over on a machine right now. It's running right now, and that thing runs 24/7 on an iMac, an older iMac. So and never a problem with CPU, and it's rock solid. It just streams and streams. And what I like about it is now with the technology, you're literally able to build your own TV network, your own linear network, and that's in addition to that everyone can have on demand through YouTube, like you mentioned, or uploading episodes, either audio, video, to the different hosts. But we've actually created our own networks. So and that's essential especially for you. In fact, I've working on getting there as far as getting on the set-top boxes, but I know that's essential to be on the set-top box. You have to have a continuous stream to be able to feed that. So now think of this. I mean, you're producing content, you're getting your content out there when you're live or when you're not live and playing replays. People can go in their living room, sit back, turn on their Roku box, turn on Apple TV, and instead of going to ABC or NBC, they go to the Tech Buzz. Right. And it's great. It really democratizes your reach and your ability to get your content out there. And and that's why also we talk about doing it at a high level professionally, and certainly Wirecast is going to help you do that. But that's really why, because if you put it on that big screen, it's going to show. You want to have high quality results there.
So this is something that has come up also. There was a question, and keep the questions coming. One of our fellow co-workers over at Telestream, she's facilitating, getting us some questions here. So one of the questions that came up was what's the camera that I'm using. So if it wasn't answered, I am actually using a PTZ optics camera from ptzoptics.com. It is a 16X, and for those that don't know what a PTZ camera is essentially it's a camera that allows you to robotically change the direction of the camera. So I actually have a remote control here with different presets on it. Then I can press any one of the given buttons if I had presets set up. Currently, I only have one preset here. But what it does is it gives me the ability. So what I'm going to do here, just for you guys, I'm going to zoom in here. I think it's on manual focus, so it's going to knock it out of focus. So I'm going to zoom in, but when I hit the one button on this, it'll snap it back right to my given position that I have saved on the camera. So that's just a little take. So if you don't have a camera operator like most of us don't, Marty, doing what we're doing, this is a great addition. I've got a few of those cameras here in my studio where I need to be able to turn them without actually moving them on a tripod or on a ceiling mount. It gives me the ability to just turn it and control it and basically be my own cameraman without actually having to use that. And I know somebody, why don't you tell them about your camera that you're using as well?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had PTZ camera, and that's great. And you mentioned both of us are kind of one-man bands, so anything we could do to kind of automate things is essential to make it look like, have a smooth production. I happen to be using a camcorder as well. I'm using a higher-end Sony camcorder. It's about $1,500 camcorder. It's at the top end of the consumer, low-end professional, and the difference there is with this particular camcorder, it does come with an attachment that you can attach XLR microphones. That's a 3-prong connector that professional microphones have. And that's really the difference here. So obviously our picture quality is pretty good compared to a webcam. Webcam's going to be better than something built into your computer. So you're kind of taking steps up. And really the main difference is these cameras that we're using have larger sensors, better optics. I mean, it's all kind of a matter of the stair step in quality. And since we're broadcasting in HD, you're going to see that difference. You know, back in the day when you started out, when you were broadcasting SD and very small resolution, you're not going to see that. But now with, you know, HD, and now 4K is slowly becoming, you know, a thing online. You know, the bandwidth is there. So the higher the resolutions, the more you're going to notice. So better optics, better sensors. These cameras do make a difference in your presentation.
So that's something for those, whoever asked that question. Thank you for that question. We've got another question in the chat room on how many platforms can you stream at the same time? That's actually a really fantastic question, and we've kind of made that transition unofficially into the questions section here. So we want to make sure, keep those questions coming. If we missed your question, please feel free to put it in there. I know sometimes when the show's going on, it's hard to kind of follow every question that's coming along, but feel free to throw it in there so we can get those questions answered. But Marty, I'm going to say, you know, depending on how much bandwidth you have, using Wirecast that can stream to multiple platforms is really going to determine how many platforms you can go to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think there's necessarily a physical limit in the software. You can just create different streaming profiles and stream out. It's like you said, it's going to be it's going to be a limit to your upward bandwidth. So, you know, many people pay attention to that downstream bandwidth when they quote their broadband speed. But when you're a broadcaster, you're going to pay attention to that upstream bandwidth, and chances are it's not symmetrical, meaning that's not the same up and down. So you want to contact your cable provider, your internet provider, and make sure that you have the sufficient bandwidth. I know, Stephen, what I recommend usually to people is have double the minimum that you need. So say you need 2 megabits up for a particular stream, have 4 so you have some headroom. And that's going to be different. That's going to be different depending on the resolution that you decide to stream at.
Yeah, that's something that I use as well as a rule of thumbs, is always, you know, double whatever your maximum upload. A lot of people make the mistake, and they will take, if they have a 5 megabit connection, Marty, they'll just say, well, I want to stream 1080p, so I'm going to just put all 5 meg into it. And meanwhile, they want to do what we're doing, Skype guest, because you know you're in a different state, and they have no bandwidth for that. They have no bandwidth for the stream. So that's crucial when understanding. There's a lot of moving parts when it comes to this. So you really have to have your P's and Q's together, right?
And I would say this also is when you're doing that, even if you're streaming to one destination, we talk about this all the time. Wired connection is very, very important. I know a lot of people rely on Wi-Fi, but if you're doing video, you better make sure you have that old-fashioned Ethernet, you know, connected to your device or your computer, even if you're in the same room or close to your router, because it relies on radio signals, and radio signals are susceptible to interference, and that's what kind of screws up the packet and gives you packet loss and things. So any little hiccup in the stream is going to show up as buffering or interference. So the wired connection kind of takes that out of the equation. And again, this is all complicated. It's going to depend on network congestion, all that stuff. So the headroom is going to help you with that, and a wired connection too is certainly going to help you. And then you just have to experiment and kind of add up. Okay, what's my capacity, and what can I do? So it's going to be different for everybody, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So there is another question that came in. Lisa says, can you point to a tutorial on bringing in different audio sources into Wirecast? Can it be done without an external mixer, or is that too complicated? A lot of times when you're dealing with multiple audio sources, it is best to use an audio mixer. And that's, again, back to Wirecast can grow with you. If you're going to do multiple sources, like, let's say, a microphone, maybe a Skype guest, and maybe a sound effects machine, you can absolutely do that with Wirecast, just adding those sources via USB. The challenge starts coming in when you start adding multiple Skype guests and audio from phone calls like we've done. It's hard to balance all that audio and control everything as a one-man production. So we like to do the audio mixer where you can adjust things. It can certainly be done inside of Wirecast. The thing is, like you're saying, you have to sit down and make sure that you have, one, the USB bandwidth to handle any of those devices that you're plugging in. That personally is going to be a personal preference on just about anybody. But I use a physical mixer for my stuff.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, it's funny when I set up my system, I messed around with embedded audio and different things, and I came back to the old fashioned analog audio routing. And the reason is, I mean, it's an old standard. In fact, I just got a larger mixer where I can have what's called aux sends and different audio routing to do mix minus. But what I like about it is what Steven says is the control. And I'm looking over at a mixer now, but it's the control that you have. There's really nothing that I've seen so far that replaces a dedicated audio mixer, especially when you're dealing with multiple audio sources. If you're just plugging in a USB microphone and a webcam or a single video source, then by all means, Wirecast is going to handle that very well. Your USB bandwidth on your computer is probably going to be plenty. But Stephen, you raise up a very good point, and that's what people forget. You may have multiple USB jacks on your computer, but do you have enough bandwidth? Because that's all data going through. And it gets a little complicated with the routing inside your computer because it's all digital and it's relying on those USB connections. And I know on my Mac, I have Thunderbolt, and depending on how many buses you have, it gets kind of complex. But that audio mixer kind of takes that out of the equation where, you're really just limited to the amount of sources you have on the mixer. Then it's just one output to Wirecast and your audio is taken care of. So you kind of separate that out. In fact, I just think it's easier to control because you have that physical control and you're able to see a little bit better. You know exactly what's going on. So there is something to be said about having the right peripherals to make your life a little easier going into a broadcast product. So yeah, we're both mixer fans for that reason. So
yeah, I mean, and the cool thing with Wirecast 7 is they added a lot of the advanced features of an audio mixer. You have a mix minus for those, and this is what I would say to you: if you think looking at a mixer's challenging, then just stick with what Wirecast has, because honestly, the mix minus on Wirecast, you would pay a lot of money for that. Yeah, I mean, they just added that. You just press a button.
It's a great feature.
The audio and video delay. I mean, so you have a lot of options. In fact, we had a situation this week with dealing with video delay. So Wirecast having that ability, I mean, there's expensive features in a $499 and $999 $1,000, I should say, package. So there's a quick question in the chat room. Steven, can you stream live to Facebook on a desktop computer? If so, do you need a special program to do it? I only know how to stream live with my phone. So as you can see right now, we are streaming live using a desktop computer, sending it out via Wirecast out to Facebook Live. So absolutely, you can do that 100%. So this is the brilliance that Marty talked about earlier with Facebook opening their API for folks like Telestream to, they were one of the first people to get out there and be on Facebook, have their application work on Facebook Live, and giving professionals the ability, Marty, to get their video on Facebook Live.
Yeah, I mean, and I know this stuff can get complicated. I mean, we've talked about this in previous shows and with various people in our audience. This is basically what's called RTMP, streaming real-time media protocol, and it involves a URL that you send it to and a stream key, and the stream key is unique to that particular stream, and it identifies your stream to the host provider, and it allows that encoded stream to go through. What's great about Wirecast is it takes advantage of that Facebook. We'll talk about Facebook API, and it makes it very easy. It's just push button, easy as far as setting up that profile. You don't have to go. It takes a lot of the complicated stuff out of it. So you just push that one button, and then you're ready to go. So anything you're inputting into Wirecast will go out through the desktop onto your Facebook page, and you get that nice 16:9 quality. So I mean, the Wirecast is the intermediary. It's the piece of the puzzle that's allowing that streaming to happen. So not only is it a streaming engine, but obviously you can build shots, and it's a tremendous video software tool. And so and again, Stephen, it makes it very easy because you just kind of push that button. It takes a lot of that complicated stuff out of it.
And let's talk about this for a second here, rolling into this see if there's any more questions that come through. People might sit back and say, well, okay, why do I want to go out and buy Wirecast for $500 or $1,000 for the Pro? Why do I want to do that? And Marty, you and I have talked extensively about this on shows. We've talked about it. Our audience probably have heard us say this numerous times. With the way today's age is with video. Anybody can grab like an iPhone, an Android device, and they can get out there and stream. We see it all the time. We see these videos pop up. But what happens is it almost like it gives live video a bad rep, because some of these people that are coming on there, the video is hard to watch. It's hard to understand. And then you have the guys like us who are putting together a really nice package. The guys here at Wirecast Live, they're doing a nice package, Andrew and the crew. And it really separates what we call the amateurs from the professionals, where the amateurs are just getting started. That's all they know. They grab their phone and they get on it. Mm-hmm. But when you buy a tool like Wirecast, and I'm trying not to sound like a salesman here, but I also am trying to express the truth. And you can add all these cool graphics and these backgrounds and having the ability to switch shots like this and bring in Skype guests. It really takes your production level to a higher level. Mm-hmm. It takes it and gives you a more polished look and more polished audio. And so what happens is, right away, people stop skipping over your live video and they start paying attention to it, and they want to see what you're doing and how you're doing it. And I think, Marty, if the trend continues with more people doing professional video, we might see a lot less amateur cell phone video. And listen, amateur cell phone video is great for like breaking news. Yep. Like when you're on the spot and you need to get that footage of that tornado that touched down or a riot that's happening in your city. But when it comes to this type of stuff, people want quality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you said it very well, Stephen. And I kind of look at it as a two-step process here, right? So we talk a lot about the big roadblock for a lot of people just getting started is just getting started. They get intimidated by the equipment, or they need all this, and they think they need 18 different things, and they don't have the right camera. Well, like you said, and I'm reaching for my phone here, I got one right here too. iPhone. This, in fact, this is not even the latest iPhone. It's got an HD camera in it, and it's incredibly high quality. And like you said, sometimes that's all you need to get started. But don't stop there. You want to also continue to improve and continue to iterate. And the cool thing about Wirecast is it allows you to get started quickly and simply. Has the tools there. It allows you to go to all these destinations: Facebook, YouTube, anywhere you record your video, anywhere you want to go, simply and easily. But it's not a tool that you're going to outgrow. So you can kind of grow along with it. So you can add the enhancements. I mean, me personally, I love, and I'm looking at my Wirecast over there, I love the metaphor of the interface where it's the layers.
Yeah.
Because I think for non-broadcasters just getting started, I think that's something easy to understand. I come from the TV world, switchers. That's a whole, like with MEs, mix of fixed banks, and all these other fancy terms that I don't think the normal person is necessarily going to grasp right away. In the TV world, it's normal operating procedure. It's that's how it's done. But I think the metaphor and the interface on Wirecast helps you get started. And again, the tools that are built in, like you said, Stephen, you're mentioning audio and video delay, which I've never heard of on a software product. That is incredibly high-end features. Mix minus at a pushable button. These are professional features here that you can grow with. So I would say that, and I would say, yes, is there a use case for a phone? Yeah, when that's all you can get. If it's a breaking news situation, you're happy to have the footage. But for shows like this, you want to always work up to that level. And the good news is, a tool like Wirecast is going to be able to help you get there and kind of build that up.
And even to go one step further, so the folks at Telestream, they realized that there's a lot of amateur video out there on cell phones. So they took it one step further and created Wirecast Go. So if you haven't downloaded that app, I encourage you to go download it. It's a free app. You can stream to YouTube with it, but it allows you, Marty, to add graphics. It's got like a little instant replay, 30-second instant replay to where you can have it and do that. But also there's Wirecast Cam. So you can use the great camera that's on your phone and bring that in as a source into Wirecast. So there's a lot of versatility. So if you use your phone the right way, I'm talking about the guy that's sitting on the floor in his bathroom and he's doing a live stream. And you guys are probably like, well, why does he keep bringing that up? As I've seen live streams like that. So we're just talking about, making sure that you have your stuff in a row. So let's see here. Here's a question in here. Can you live stream to your own website without sharing a link from Facebook or YouTube? So,
Ooh, that's a good one.
that is a very good one. And this is something that you and I, we preach about a lot, is owning your content. We want to drive traffic to our own website. So we take a lot of the embed codes from YouTube or Ustream or wherever we're streaming to, and we put it on our website. So you can then tell people to go to your website and watch it, even though it's playing or streaming to YouTube. And I believe Facebook just added that, the ability to embed it just recently.
Yeah.
So you can essentially do it and have that to where people go to your website and watch it, plus the drive-by traffic right on Facebook.
Yeah, I think the big advantage there is that, and I do that for even the shows I produce professionally for clients. Normally, what we'll do, and again, in addition to streaming to Facebook, that's a big thing right now too. But a lot of the productions that we do, we'll set up landing pages if they don't have a website or a website, and embedding it on the website. The big advantage there is, especially if you do a regular show, is you can give out that one address. And I'll give you an example: my show or Steven's show, the techbuzz.net/live. That's one address. You go there every week, every Monday, Tuesday, you see Steven's shows. BTSLive.com. Every Thursday night, 8 o'clock, you see the show there. So it's not like you have to go to a separate link every time. And I know when people stream to Facebook, or not a little less than Facebook, but YouTube or some of these other sites where the link changes, then you're trying to promote the link. And if the link breaks or if you have to go, then it's all kinds of hassle. By embedding it on your own site, you keep control of that, and you make it very easy for the viewer or the listener to know, okay, I just go to the one site, and if you have a problem, you can re-embed it and all that stuff. So it's a lot of advantage there, and people get to know that one address. And then you could even create a forwarding address. I mean, BTS Live right now, full transparency, that's a forwarded address. That's forwarded to another page that's under construction, but to the outside world, that's BTS Live. And then when I actually create the actual website, I don't have to do any changes. It's still BTS Live to everybody, So there's a huge advantage there, especially to your audience.
Well, guys, I think that's about it. I think we've kind of exhausted our time here, and we appreciate the folks over at Telestream for the opportunity to come on here in Andrew's absence and talk about broadcasting. And Marty, I want to thank you for joining me as well. And you guys want to know more about Marty, btslive.com. Actually, you'll be live tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Yes, sir.
And taking some questions. So if you guys are interested, check him out. And you guys go over to the techbuzz.net. You can find anything and everything about me there. But I do want to do a few housekeeping things before we get going for what's upcoming. So the show will return to its normal structure coming up. But next Thursday, August 11th, House of Worship Part 1, Church Streaming Basics, will be, you can head over to the Telestream website and sign up for this. This is a free webinar. Andrew Haley will be taking you into live streaming from the church. And I believe I'll be joining him later on that month to talk about some stuff. So you definitely want to check that out. Also, Andrew will return for episode number 13, I believe, or it's episode 14. I think it's episode 14. Creating a professional backdrop using virtual sets. So Thursday, August 11th, make sure you guys check that out at, I believe they're going to stick with the 2:30 Pacific time frame for that show. But you guys can go over to telestream.net and find out all that information for all of the activities that are planned. These guys do a bang-up job. We check it out all the time to be able to watch it. And if you're interested, I encourage you, if this is the first time you've ever heard about Wirecast and you never have done anything with it, go on over to telestream.net. There's a free trial. You can download it. Or if we've kind of sold you on it just based on our use case, you can also purchase it. It is Mac or PC. It's the only software solution that is Mac or PC. And you can find out all about capture cards, microphones, all these cool things over at the website. So, guys, again, thank you so much for your time. And until next time, I got to do my outro. Keep it buzzing.